Hi guys, I'm back with the third installment in the series. Um, I gotta confess something. I got a little bit annoyed with using Notepad, so I moved back to my IDE. I'm using Visual Studio Code. You can continue using Notepad, or if you want, you could move on to an IDE like Visual Studio Code or Atom. Um, I would recommend Visual Studio Code. You can go put Visual Studio Code in Google and download it for the Mac or the PC, or if you have a Linux computer. Um, so let's begin. So there are different types of ways you can loop through blocks of code in JavaScript. Um, but we're going to be looking at for loops today. So how is a for loop constructed? Well, there are three things you need to know with your for loop. You need to know where you're beginning, where you're ending, and if you're increasing or decreasing. This is what I mean. So let's create a for loop that is going to be increasing. All right. So for var I equal to 0, that's where we begin at 0. I is less than 10. This is where we're going to be ending. And plus plus, which means we're going to be increasing. So you're beginning at 0, you end at 10, and plus plus means it's an increment. Okay? It's an increment. Okay. Let's do one for decreasing. For var x equals 10, I is more than 0, x minus minus. So I know I made a mistake. I use I. Here's x. Okay, so we have our two loops. Here, it begins at 10. It decreases because we have a decrement, minus minus. And as long as x is more than 0, it's going to keep decreasing. When it gets to 0, it's going to stop. All right, so let's print these out to see how they look. Here I'm going to put x. All right, so let's see how these look. And let's see, I think that is it. All right, so let's check the code. I already ran this before, so okay, here we go. So we began at 0, right? And we stopped right before we got to 10. As you can see, I is equal to 9. We have 10 digits, but it began at 0 and stopped at 9. When it got to 10, it stopped printing. And then we started from 10 when we were doing the x value decreasing, and we stopped at 0. When we got to 0, it stopped printing. So we have 10 values here as well. Remember, when we are in programming, normally we start counting from 0. So that's why we have 0 here. If you wanted this to be 10, just like this, let's go back to the code and do that. So I'm going to start at 1, and more than or equal to 10. So it looks a little bit more uniform. Let's try this again. And there you go. 1 to 10, 10 to 1. And that's your for loops. I hope this was informative. Any questions you may have, please put them in the comments. And any requests, anything you want to learn, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Bye.